Have you ever had a moment that just broke the rules? A moment where time seemed to warp, where reality felt more real than real, and for a split second, you felt connected to everything? Maybe it was watching a sunset paint the sky, a sudden, breathtaking feeling of understanding while listening to music, or a dream so vivid it shook you for days. We often dismiss these moments. We call them daydreams, tricks of the light, or just our brains being weird. But what if they're not? What if these experiences are part of a deep, ancient, and universal human story? What if the feeling you had in that fleeting moment shares the exact same DNA as the profound visions of saints and sages from 1,000 years ago? Welcome to Summary Thought, the channel where we dive deep into fascinating ideas and bring them into the light. Today, we are embarking on a truly mind-bending journey. We're going to be exploring a peer-reviewed paper that acts as a bridge across centuries, connecting our modern world to the most mysterious and powerful states of human consciousness. The paper is called A Bridge Between Traditional and Modern: Analysis of the Characteristics of Mystical Experiences by Professor Zsuzsanna Szugyiczki. And her work poses a revolutionary question. Think about the spiritual experiences people have today. We often label them as superficial or new age. But what if they're the real deal? What if they share the very same spiritual DNA as the legendary mystics of old? Get ready, because this is going to challenge everything you thought you knew about spirituality, history, and even your own potential for profound experiences. In our journey today, we're first going to explore the great divide that separates the legendary mystics of the past from the everyday spiritual seekers of today. Then, we'll become detectives of the soul as we uncover four secret characteristics, four hidden fingerprints, that Dr. Szugyiczki believes are the telltale signs of a genuine mystical experience. We'll investigate the bizarre clash of opposites like light and darkness. We'll explore the strange and sudden bending of time. We'll feel the power of being utterly and completely overwhelmed. And finally, we'll discover the surprising and uncontrollable ways our own bodies can react to these encounters. By the time we're done, you'll see these incredible human moments in a completely new way. So, let's set the stage. When you hear the word mystic, who comes to mind? For most of us, it's probably a figure like John of the Cross, a 16th century Spanish monk, living a life of extreme discipline in a monastery, writing dense poetic verses about the dark night of the soul and his encounter with God. Or maybe you think of someone like Thomas Merton, a 20th century Trappist monk, a brilliant writer and thinker who documented his spiritual life from within the stone walls of his abbey. These are the traditional mystics. Their experiences are seen as the gold standard, deep, authentic, and rooted in centuries of religious tradition. Now, contrast that with today. Spirituality is everywhere. It's on Instagram, in yoga studios, in self-help books, and in the quiet moments people steal for themselves in nature. People today talk about feeling a sense of oneness, of cosmic connection, of profound peace or sudden insight. But these modern experiences often get a bad reputation. Critics, and even some researchers, tend to dismiss them. They call them watered-down versions of the real thing. They see them as superficial, a product of our consumer culture where you can buy enlightenment, or frame them as mere self-constructions, something we just make up in our heads to feel good. This creates a huge judgmental gap. On one side, you have the heavyweight champions of mysticism, like John of the Cross. On the other, you have ordinary people today whose experiences are often considered lightweight, if not entirely fake. This is the problem Dr. Szugyiczki's paper tackles head-on. She argues that looking at it this way is a massive mistake. She says that we need to stop judging the superficial details, what she calls the packaging. Things like the historical period, the specific religious words, or the person's lifestyle. She believes that if we look past all that and focus on the core of the experience itself, we'll find a stunning similarity. We will find a bridge. To build this bridge, she analyzed a treasure trove of personal stories from the Alistair Hardy Archive, a massive database where thousands of regular people have submitted their own spiritual and religious experiences. She then compared these modern accounts to the writings of our two traditional mystics, John of the Cross and Thomas Merton, searching for a shared pattern, a set of common markers. And she found them. 4 of them, to be exact. Let's dive into the first one. Fingerprint 1. The dance of opposites. Imagine trying to describe the most incredible thing you've ever witnessed. You'd quickly run out of words, wouldn't you? You'd start reaching for contradictions, for paradoxes. It was terrifyingly beautiful. It was a silent explosion. It was a painful joy. This is exactly what mystics have done for centuries, and it's our first fingerprint. The use of opposites. The most powerful pair of opposites they use is light and darkness. For traditional mystics like John of the Cross, this wasn't just a metaphor, it was a deep theological concept. The darkness was the state of not knowing, of letting go of your own understanding to make room for the divine. And the light was the overwhelming presence of that divine reality. So, does this fingerprint show up in modern experiences? Absolutely. The paper found several accounts where people described their visions using this exact duality. One person, lost and in distress in what felt like a dark night, suddenly saw a big spot of light come from above to show them the way. Another person, reflecting on their experience, felt a mission to be the light for many sitting in darkness. Now, the paper notes an interesting difference. In many modern accounts, the light and darkness are described more literally. The experience happened in a dark room, and a light appeared. It's not always the complex, theological, luminous darkness of the ancient mystics, but sometimes it is. The research uncovered a jaw-dropping account from one person who said they found themselves in a world that was bright and dark at the same time. The darkness was luminous and comforting, not in the least threatening. Think about that for a second. Luminous darkness. That's a phrase that could have been pulled directly from a 1,000-year-old mystical text. It's the language of paradox, the language of an experience so profound it shatters our normal categories of understanding. This shows that the first fingerprint, the dance of opposites, is very much alive and well in the hearts and minds of people today. It's a timeless marker of an encounter with the extraordinary. Fingerprint 2. The moment time snapped. Our second fingerprint deals with something we all take for granted, the steady, forward march of time. Tick, tock, 1 second after the other. But in a mystical experience, time bends, it breaks, it disappears altogether. And the key word that signals this temporal break, the word that appeared over and over again in the modern accounts, is suddenly. The paper found that the word suddenly appeared in a staggering 229 entries. And it wasn't just used to mean quickly. It was used to describe a fundamental shift in reality that came out of nowhere, completely uninvited and unexpected. It points to a moment that isn't the result of what came before it. It's a clean break. The experience arrives. Listen to some of these examples from regular people. One person said, "I suddenly became aware of a flood of new consciousness in which everything, blades of grass, clouds, cattle, etc., were included." Another, while simply looking at a flower, described the moment. "As I looked, I was suddenly truly aware of the wonder that had created it. The world had gone. Everything had stopped." Everything had stopped. This is the heart of it. The normal flow of life pauses, and something else takes over. And here's where the bridge to the past becomes crystal clear. This is exactly how the 20th century monk Thomas Merton described his own mystical visions. He constantly used words like suddenly and in a flash to articulate those moments where his perception of reality was completely transformed. So when someone today, perhaps during a quiet walk in their neighborhood, feels suddenly pervaded with a sense of peace and the realization that there is no separateness between myself and other people, they are, according to this research, speaking the same temporal language as one of history's great mystics. Time breaking, perception shifting in an instant. This is our second undeniable fingerprint. Fingerprint 3. The overwhelming wave. The third fingerprint is about intensity. These experiences are not gentle whispers, they are tidal waves. The word that captures this is overwhelming. It's a feeling of being completely submerged, taken over, and saturated by an emotion, a presence, or a realization so powerful it dissolves your normal sense of self. The research found that the word overwhelming was a crucial marker in the modern accounts. And fascinatingly, it was often found right alongside our second fingerprint, suddenly, and a powerful sense of a presence. The accounts were filled with phrases like this one: "Suddenly I felt myself overwhelmed by a presence." Or this one: "The whole room seemed to be filled by an overwhelming presence, and I was filled with absolute peace." The mix of suddenness and overwhelming feeling and the sense of a presence creates a powerful combination that points directly to a mystical state. It's the perfect storm of a consciousness-altering event. And once again, the bridge to Merton and John of the Cross is incredibly strong. Merton described his most famous mystical experience as being suddenly overwhelmed with the realization that I loved all those people. John of the Cross wrote in his poetry, "I was so whelmed." What's perhaps most interesting is that the paper found that even when the overwhelming feeling was something we might consider negative, like loneliness, the experience itself was not described as a bad thing. It was just intense. It was a state of being so profound that it was beyond our simple labels of good or bad. It was often described as joyful, ecstatic, and deeply reassuring. This overwhelming quality is the sign that the experience has shattered the normal emotional scale. It's operating on a whole different level. Fingerprint 4. The body can't lie. Our fourth and final fingerprint is perhaps the most surprising and the most human of all. It's about how our physical bodies react when our minds touch the infinite. These experiences aren't just quiet internal events. They often trigger uncontrollable bodily reactions, actions, and feelings. And the specific reaction the paper zoomed in on is one we almost never associate with serious mysticism: laughter. We picture mystics as silent, solemn figures, but the research shows that a common response to an extraordinary spiritual event is to laugh. And it's not always a gentle chuckle. One person, after a prayer was answered in a bizarre and immediate way, said, "I've never felt so brimming with life, laughter, and vitality when it happened to me. I burst out laughing at the coincidence. It was agony having to stifle our laughter." Another person, who felt they accidentally witnessed an angel by their bed, said they were overcome by laughter. "Laughter broke out of me." This is the laughter of shock, of joy, of realizing the beautiful wonder and playful nature of the universe. It's an involuntary explosion of energy, a bodily response to a reality that is too big and too strange and too wonderful for words. And again, this connects directly to our historical guides. During his most famous vision, Thomas Merton said he felt such liberation and joy that he almost laughed out loud. And while John of the Cross didn't laugh, he had his own uncontrollable bodily reaction. He was left stammering, transcending all knowledge. Whether it's uncontrollable laughter, stammering, sudden tears, or being frozen in place, the body becomes a witness. It cannot lie. Its involuntary reaction is the final fingerprint, proving that the experience was not just a thought or a daydream, but something that sees the person in their entirety: mind, soul, and body. So, what does this all mean? When you put these four fingerprints together, the dance of opposites, the snapping of time, the overwhelming wave, and the body's honest reaction, a stunning picture emerges. Zsuzsanna Szugyiczki found that a remarkable 64% of the modern experiences that she analyzed contained all four of these characteristics. Another 24% were only missing one. This is a powerful conclusion. It suggests that mystical experiences have a deep, essential core that remains stable across centuries, cultures, and belief systems. The language might change, the context might be different, a monastery cell versus a modern living room, but the fundamental architecture of the experience is remarkably similar. The bridge between traditional and modern mysticism is real. That profound moment you or someone you know may have had isn't a cheap knockoff. It's part of a grand, timeless human tradition of encountering the mystery of existence. The paper brilliantly argues that modern mysticism is still mysticism. This leaves us with some incredible questions to ponder. Are we all hardwired for these experiences? And if they're a natural part of being human, what can we do to be more open to them in our own lives? This research doesn't just build a bridge to the past, it opens a door for our future. And that is your deep dive into a truly groundbreaking idea, right here on Summary Thought. We've seen that the profound moments that change our lives may not be random, but may in fact follow a secret, timeless pattern. If this exploration of the human search for meaning sparked something within you, help that spark catch fire. Illuminate that like button with a click, share this journey with another curious mind you know, and be sure to subscribe to our channel to keep uncovering the hidden bridges that connect our world. Your support is the incredible energy that fuels our next great thought. Thank you for listening. Stay curious.